first give us a perspective of what this means, because versus the draft, these guidelines are favorable actually. It adds or it subtracts just about 1 to 1.5 bips for the AMC, and I know that you are not the AMC, but first give us the perspective from the AMC standpoint. Isn't that largely positive with regard to where AMCs is concerned versus what the draft suggested? Your view?
Yeah, good morning. And I fully agree with you, because if you look at the initial consultation paper, the impact was likely to be much, much larger. However, I think the SEBI chair also yesterday in the con call said that they heard everyone, and probably the whatever which has been came out finally is very, very less impactful. So if you look at all the changes, only one change which is really going to impact everyone would be the removal of exit load based 5 basis points which were available to AMC. So I think that's the real impact. Other than that, everything else is probably they are trying to put it into a right perspective. So if you look at currently the structure of mutual fund expense ratio was a bit confusing, because the asset management companies were allowed to charge GST. However, all other participants, including RTAs and wheel distributors, were not allowed to charge GST or other statutory levies because it was inclusive of charges. Hence, the real figure was not clearly visible. And I think the SEBI chair was very, very clear in communicating this message that we want to very transparently communicate that what is the actual expense ratio, and then over and above, all other things which are statutory levies has to be separate. So in that sense, initially the expectation was, the consultation paper talked about reducing by 15 basis points. Now finally it came out, I think, except first 3 slabs where the impact is still in the range of 15 basis points. All other slabs about 2,000 crore, they reduced that impact to 10 basis points. So overall it's a very, very positive things, and it will definitely help us in giving a lot of clarity as far as expense ratio is concerned. Another important thing is that now they have made it very clear what is base expense ratio and what all additional you can charge. And we all knew that, right? Additional charges in form of statutory levies are always what you call the variable in nature, because you don't know when the GST will increase or decrease, or stamp duty will remain or not remain. Hence, now it is very clear. There is base expense ratio, and plus would be the statutory levies. So base expense ratio will remain very clear as far as the cost of entire operational part is concerned, and statutory levies goes in the hands of regulator or somebody else.
Sanjay, if you look at the impact on AMCs, it's around 1.5 basis points which is there. But if it translates into the PNL, it comes to 4 to 5% of the PBT. It's widely expected that some of this would be transferred to the distributors like you. So do you see a challenge from that point of view, that your margins or commissions may get hit because of this expense getting transferred to you as well?
Yeah, so I think when you are talking about 1 to 1.5 basis point of AMC impact, you are already assuming that 3.5 basis point would be transferred to somebody else. Because the real impact would be 5 basis point of exit load, and if their impact is expected to be 1.5 basis point, that means 3.5 will be transferred to rest all other players in the ecosystem, and distributors are the largest players. So I think we just want that there has to be an equal distribution of this burden this time, and they should not disproportionately transfer this burden on the distributors, because at the end of the day, if you reduce the earning of distributor disproportionately, then the viability will not remain. So I think we sincerely suggest that this time AMC should transfer less and probably try and bear that. However, coming to the point regarding the will I be able to bear this cost? Yeah, I think probably if you look at 3.5 basis point or 3 basis point transfer is something which is after a long period of time, because the last change came in 2019, and then after the AUM has also grown significantly larger. The best positive part of this industry is that, let's say, take an example of AMC. If their impact is 4 to 5%, and if the AUM goes up by 4 to 5%, that entire impact gets nullified. So that's the beauty of this industry, because entire earning is linked to the AUM, and we always believe that anything which is good for the investor is good for the industry, is good for all of us. And if we increase we need to put in more efforts to make sure that our AUM compensate the impact which will be there on us.